But now what would we look like without that? We would have 2 evangelists on staff, maybe. The motorcycles that the evangelists ride is paid for by Run for the Sun. And I personally believe if we can put, in round numbers, 5,000 motorcycles all over the world, surely we can put motorcycles in the hands of our evangelists. If it's important for people in third world countries to be able to have transportation to share the gospel, surely with our part of that, we can make that investment. And Run for the Sun money pays for their motorcycles, their little campers. Get this, these men and women called your evangelists live on the road. For some of us that are here, we enjoy taking short trips in a week or 2 weeks, and some of you are retired and you get to travel more than maybe some of the rest of us. But when your lifestyle is week after week after week in the sun, the cold, the rain, I think our evangelists deserve, when they live a life on the road, loving you and carrying the gospel of Jesus Christ, I think they deserve a hotel room. I think they deserve air conditioning. Can they get by without it? Yes, they could. And before Run for the Sun, they had to. But that's more than just a blessing. It becomes a necessity as they travel. You know, the evangelists get $25 a day to eat on, day after day after day. And if you eat in a restaurant, you're not a good Christian, I believe, if you don't understand that you have a reputation to tip the people that wait on you. $25 a day ain't much to eat on when you leave a tip. And a lot of them, like Becky and I did this time, and I know some others, we stopped along the way, and you're going to say, well, we do the same thing, I understand. And we went in Walmart, and we bought cheese and bologna and light bread and jalapeno peppers to make it taste good and things like that. And the accountability within the ministry of CMA, we look at that to ensure that on an average that they don't spend more than $25 a day. But here's the deal. It's not that we have to monitor them. They do what they do, and they're conservative with their money because they understand the commitment that's been made. You wouldn't have a regional evangelist if it wasn't for Run for the Sun. While this event is not paid for by Run for the Sun, without the evangelist, we wouldn't have a national rally. At the heart of leading this ministry are our evangelists. And they would not be here if it wasn't for Run for the Sun. But then out of the Run for the Sun monies, it pays for the maintenance on the printing presses and the cost to print the material so we can sell it at cost. You wouldn't have the tracts. There wouldn't be rag tracts. There wouldn't be paper cups. There'd be no ministry material. You know that out of the general fund for CMA, there's something less than 5,000 of us that contribute to the general fund. The general fund couldn't pay for that. And thank you that are involved in the Seven Soldier program. There wouldn't be the equipment in a multimedia department to put together training materials and things. When you go to some of the major, well, even the ones that are not major, but when you go to many of the events that are outreach, whether it's Laconia, Americade, Sturgis, Daytona Beach, Street Vibrations, Laughlin, Red River Run, whatever we call it in the Redwoods. When you go as a CMA member, there's a place where you can go pick up tracts and Bibles. It doesn't cost you a penny. And the reason it doesn't cost you a penny is because Run for the Sun pays for that literature. And it pays for much of the literature in much smaller events across this nation. Of course, you know that 7.5% of the money that you raise from every state of Run for the Sun goes directly back out of our 40%. But in round numbers, there's $500,000 that is spread throughout the United States to do street evangelism and minister. There's another $250,000 that's set aside to help support that. Just talked to Roger this week, and as you know, many of the booth space in these major events, the cost goes up. And Sturgis is no exception. But yet we just found out that we got a $500 increase. And they come to me and they said, the budget's already been spent. Can we do that? And I said, yes, we can do that because we can find somewhere to get the money. We'll probably first ask the evangelists if they got any money they hadn't spent. They don't get to build a bank account out of that money. They got to use it. And yet, even with all of this, there's not enough to go around. And we also, on a very small scale, do training for CMA leaders around the world. Your family is in 30 countries around the world. There's a place in Nepal where there is a small motorcycle shop that's run by the CMA members there. A Hindu country. Imagine you got a CMA organization there. And we've made a commitment to help them fix up the inside. Now, this motorcycle shop is probably smaller than your bedroom. But out back, they want to take some used tin and build a lean-to and buy a little compressor that they can wash motorcycles. See, they're doing things like that in an effort to share the gospel. The CMA leader in this country lives on $150 a month. But we've helped in that environment. And oh, by the way, it's very possible that some of the CMA goodies that you might pick up is stuff that come from Nepal, and we use him as our quality inspector and liaison, and he would make a little money off of that helps support them. We would only be a fraction of who we are today if it was not for Run for the Sun. And I want to personally say thank you for what you do with Run for the Sun. Thank you for being a part and allowing CMA to reach an unreached people group. Becky and I, like you, are here because of the call of God on our life. This was never my desire nor my intention. I got here because the then President Herbie Shreve resigned and left the ministry, and kind of like Steve, the board of directors said, will you just fill in until we find a new leader? That's been 13 years ago. And these guys hadn't looked at the first resume or interviewed the first person, or have they talked about it. But what makes Becky and I proud to be here, we know that we're called of God. And today we don't have any intentions of going anywhere. But aside from the fact that God called us to be here, what makes us so proud and we're so honored to serve Jesus with you and the minister of CMA is you. When we look at what you do, and when we look at your commitment to God, and when we look at what you do through the various avenues of CMA, and we've talked a lot about Run for the Sun, and that's one of them. We're very honored to be able to say that we are a member of CMA and that we're part of this ministry. And we've been a part of this ministry for 21 years, 31 years. But you make us proud to be able to put on this vest and travel the highways of this country. And you make us proud to be able to go and represent you literally around the world. So I'm like the other Run for the Sun partners. You know, how can you say thank you for what you do? And I realize that what you do is because of the call of God on your life and your belief in Him and your belief that God has called you. But let me simply say that we love you. And on behalf of the ministry of CMA, we want to say thank you for what you allow God to do through Run for the Sun.